Hi there, my name is Caitlin Bandy and this is my channel Bandy's Books, and today we are here to do my favorite video of the month, and that is my book of the month predictions. We're going to be predicting the book of the month selections for June 2024. And let me just tell you straight off the bat, June is the month of repeat authors. There are so many books being published by authors that have been previously featured by Book of the Month. So usually I feel like I do a pretty good job of picking out books by debut authors or authors that are maybe a little off the radar. But this month, legitimately in almost every single category, there is a focus on repeat authors. And that just happens to be because all of the books that I think would possibly make it to Book of the Month this month are by repeat authors. So as per usual, we're gonna start with the historical fiction genre. I have just one historical fiction selection this month. That selection is The Glassmaker by Tracy Chevalier. This currently has a 4.22 and 54 ratings on Goodreads so far. 1486, Venice. Orsola Rosso is the eldest daughter in a family of glassblowers on the island of Murano in Italy. As a woman, she is not meant to blow glass. But when her father dies, she teaches herself to make glass beads in secret, supporting the Rosso family through plague and continental soldiers stripping the palazzos bare. So I've selected this book for Book of the Month because this is a well-known historical fiction author. I feel like this book is getting a lot of buzz, and this is a really unique historical event. I have personally been to the island of Murano and gone to the glassblowing factories. This is in Venice, and I find this topic super interesting. I love glass blowing and glass art in general, and I would love to learn more about the history. So maybe this is a bit of wish fulfillment in picking this book, but I think this sounds like a fantastic read. Next, we're going to be jumping into the horror, thriller, mystery genres, and I have 3 selections this month, although honestly, I could have picked several more. There were a lot of really good options, many of them by very popular horror authors, and many of whom have been previously featured by Book of the Month. These are just the 3 that I think are the most likely, but there are certainly some others like Lucy Foley, who's releasing a book this month. Totally possible for Book of the Month to feature that one. My first selection is Little Rot by Akwaeke Emezi. This currently has a 4.04 and 47 ratings on Goodreads so far. Ima and Kalu are a long-term couple who have just split up. When Kalu, reeling from his loss, visits a sex party hosted by a friend, he makes a decision that will plunge them all into chaos, brutally upending their lives. I've selected this book for Book of the Month because Akwaeke Emezi has been previously featured very successfully by Book of the Month and is also a really popular author. And Emezi does horror well. They write all sorts of different genres, and honestly, everything that they seem to tackle is pretty fantastic. But I have seen some of their horror work, and I think this is going to be a book to keep your eyes peeled for. I really, really hope that this one makes it into the box. And in fact, I will actually be pretty angry with Book of the Month if they do not end up picking this one, at least as an add-on. Then I have The Final Act of Juliet Willoughby by Ellery Lloyd. This currently has a 4.26 and 72 ratings on Goodreads so far. Paris, 1938. Runaway heiress Juliet Willoughby dies with her married lover in an accidental studio fire next to her surrealist portrait. Cambridge, 1991. 2 art history students find proof that something sinister was at play in Juliet's death. Dubai, now. An art dealer is accused of the murder of his oldest friend, the last surviving member of the Willoughby dynasty. So I've selected this book because Ellery Lloyd has been previously featured by Book of the Month. She's a pretty well-known thriller writer, and this one sounds really interesting. I love that we have 3 different POVs and we have this mystery that's spanning all of these different timelines. I think that this sounds really interesting. I also love that each of the timelines is set in a different location. I think that that's really cool. I haven't heard a ton of buzz for this book, but the ratings on Goodreads look really good so far, and I would be happy to see this make it into the Book of the Month box. My third thriller selection is Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. This book currently has a 4.03 and 516 ratings on Goodreads so far. One July night, 10-year-old Ethan and his neighbor Billy fall asleep in a tent in their quaint, peaceful cul-de-sac in New Jersey. In the morning, Ethan wakes up alone. Billy is never seen again. 30 years later, Ethan has returned home to nightmares, insomnia, and weird signs of Billy's presence. I've picked this book for Book of the Month because Riley Sager has been featured many times by Book of the Month, and although he is not my favorite writer and his books are not really my style, he does seem to be very popular. People really seem to like his writing, enjoy his thrillers, and so I think that this would be a smart business unanimous choice for book of the month. Next up is the romance genre, and this is the hardest one for me to pick every single month because I don't really read much romance, and so I don't have a good sense of what's popular in the romance world. So I've just picked 3 authors who I know are relatively popular and who have been previously featured by book of the month, and hopefully I'll get some of this right. First up is The Rom-Commers by Katherine Center. This currently has a 4.43 and over 4,000 reviews on Goodreads so far. Emma Wheeler desperately longs to be a screenwriter, but she's also the sole caregiver for her dad who needs full-time care. When she gets an opportunity to rewrite the script for the famous Charlie Yates, it's too good an opportunity to pass up. Emma's younger sister steps up so that Emma can move to LA for 6 weeks. But the hostile Charlie is nothing like Emma imagined, and worse, the script is terrible. But Emma is definitely not going down without a fight. I've picked this for book of the month because Katherine Center, I think, is one of the most popular romance authors out there. I know that she is very beloved, and book of the month has featured several of her books previously. This also seems like it has that grumpy sunshine trope going on, which I know is really popular in the romance world. So I could see this being a smart romance pick for book of the month. And then we have A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. This currently has a 4.03 and 554 ratings on Goodreads so far. Eileen Merriweather loves to get lost in a good happily ever after. The fictional kind anyway. At least imaginary men don't leave you standing alone at the altar. But when her car breaks down on the way to a writer's retreat, she finds herself mysteriously stuck in the town of Ellerton. You know, the town where her favorite romance series takes place. So I've selected this for book of the month because Poston has been previously featured for Dead Romantics, which I think was a very popular pick. She also recently published The 7-Year Slip, which was another popular romance book. And this one sounds like it's kind of up that same alley of that like quirky, unique romance story. I think a lot of people really enjoy her writing, so I wouldn't be surprised to see this book pop up as an add-on at least. And my third option in the romance genre is Leather and Lark by Brynne Weaver. This is book number 2 in the Ruinous Love trilogy. It currently has a 4.44 and 226 ratings on Goodreads so far. Contract killer Lachlan Kane wants a quiet life working in his leather studio and forgetting about his past. But when he botches a job, he knows that he will never claw his way out of the underworld. At least not until songbird Lark Montague offers him a deal. So I've selected this book for book of the month because the first book in this series was featured as an add-on. That was Butcher and Blackbird. And I believe that that was a pretty popular add-on. So I would expect to see this book as an add-on as well. I think a lot of the times when book of the month features the first book in the series, they typically will feature the second and third book as well. Not always, but a lot of the time. And since that first book did so well, I think it would be silly for them not to feature the second one. Now we're going to be talking literary fiction and contemporary fiction. I have 4 selections this month, but I actually had like almost 10 on my list. I had to really kind of narrow it down. There is a lot going on in the literary fiction world this month. First up, we have Lula Dean's Little Library of Banned Books by Kristen Miller. This currently has a 4.36 and 234 ratings on Goodreads so far. Beverly Underwood and her enemy Lula Dean live in the small town of Troy, Georgia. Beverly is on the school board, and Lula has become a local celebrity by taking on local libraries, challenging books that she deems inappropriate, even though she's never actually read any of them. Lula creates a whole little free library of wholesome books in front of her home. But Beverly's daughter, Lindsay, sneaks over to Lula's home and replaces her entire library with banned books wrapped in wholesome covers. When the truth comes to light, the showdown between Beverly and Lula will change the town forever. I've chosen this book for Book of the Month because Kristen Miller was previously featured by Book of the Month for her book, The Change, which I think was a pretty popular selection. This book sounds really interesting. I love that we have banned books and the debates about them being accessible in public spaces as a center theme for this story. I think this is really relevant to what's happening here in the United States, and I love that this author is taking this on. I think it's going to be also somewhat humorous. It sounds like, you know, we have this like revenge plot and replacing this lady's books in her little free library. I think this sounds like really good fun, but with some serious issues at its heart. So I would love to see this get featured by Book of the Month. Then I have Margot's Got Money Troubles by Ruthie Thorpe. This currently has a 4.30 and 471 ratings on Goodreads so far. Daughter of a pro wrestler and a Hooters waitress, Margot Millett always knew that she'd have to make it on her own. She's enrolled at the local junior college when an affair with her English professor and a surprise pregnancy throw a kink into her plans. Despite everyone's advice, she decides to keep the baby. Alone, unemployed, and with a baby, Margot is desperate for cash. She creates an OnlyFans and uses her estranged father's wrestling persona to inspire her own compelling character. I've picked this book for Book of the Month because Rufi Thorpe has been previously featured for her book, The Knockout Queen. I think that was pretty popular, and I really like that Rufi Thorpe is able to mix like deep themes with some humor to kind of keep it from getting too dark and depressing all the time. This book sounds kind of quirky, kind of interesting, a lot going on with it. I think that this could be a fun pick for Book of the Month. Then we have The Last Man in Paradise by Syed M. Masood. This currently has a 4.20 and 5 ratings on Goodreads so far. A decade ago, Asan, a rebellious teenager with dreams of becoming an actor, was exiled from LA to a religious academy in Egypt after his father caught him kissing the girlfriend he wasn't supposed to have. But instead of reforming his ways, Asan ditched school and embarked on his acting career. Now Asan's grandfather is dying, and he must put his acting to good use when he goes home to visit. I've selected this book for Book of the Month because Masood was previously featured for his book, The Bad Muslim Discount. This particular book sounds really interesting. I like that this book focuses in on a young man who's kind of stuck between two cultures. He wants to live the American life in Los Angeles, and his father wants him to become very devout and become an imam. You can see that kind of tug and pull as he explores his dreams of being an actor. And I think that this is something that most people could relate to, you know, the dream that you have as a young person versus the desires your family has for you. So I think this could be a really good pick. I would not be surprised to see it at least as an add-on. And then we have The Sons of El Rey by Alex Espinosa. This currently has a 4.22 and 36 ratings on Goodreads so far. Ernesto works in construction in Mexico City. That is until the day that he is discovered by a local lucha libre trainer. Ernesto finds fame as El Rey Coyote, quickly gaining recognition across Mexico. Years later in East LA, his son Freddy is struggling to save his father's gym. And Freddy's son Julian is seeking professional and romantic fulfillment as a Mexican-American gay man refusing to be defined by stereotypes. I've picked this book for Book of the Month because I feel like with all of the repeat authors, I wanted to focus on at least one book or two books that were not by repeat authors. I love that this has a setting in Mexico City and in East Los Angeles. I love that this is going to explore different generations of this same family. I love that this has LGBTQIA themes, with June being Pride Month. I would love to see Book of the Month pick up at least one book that has LGBTQ themes. This one sounds fantastic. Whether Book of the Month features it or not, I will definitely be reading it. Next up, we have our fantasy and science fiction genre. First up, we have Moonbound by Robin Sloan. This currently has a 4.08 and 36 ratings on Goodreads so far. 13,000 years from now, Ariel is a small boy in a small town under the rule of a wizard. Like many before him, Ariel is called to explore a world full of unimaginable glories and unknown enemies, a mission to save the world and a girl. But none of this happens before Ariel discovers an artifact from a sentient, ancient, record-keeping civilization that carries with it the whole perspective of human history. So I've selected this book for Book of the Month because Robin Sloan was previously featured for his book, Sourdough. And this book is in the Penumbra universe, which is from Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore, I think it's called, which I know is a really popular book. I could see this one being a really popular book as well. Mr. Penumbra's was not featured by Book of the Month, but I think that was a miss on their part because I think that's a pretty well-loved book. And I could see this being a strong fantasy/sci-fi pick for Book of the Month. Then I have Of Jade and Dragons by Amber Chen. This currently has a 4.06 and 190 ratings on Goodreads so far. 18-year-old Ai Wei Ying dreams of becoming an engineer like her father, but after his murder, her whole life falls apart. Left with only his journal full of his engineering secrets and a jade pendant snatched from his assassin, Ying follows the trail to the prestigious Engineers Guild to discover why anyone would threaten his father. Disguised as her brother, Ying earns a spot in the male-only apprenticeship trial, but she must stay a step ahead of her competitors and the killer who's still out there hunting for her father's journals. I've picked this book for Book of the Month because it's been a while since they've picked up a good fantasy book. This is fantasy with a sprinkling of romance. It is also young adult, and I feel like it's been quite a while since Book of the Month has featured a young adult book. This sounds like it has some really cool elements. I love that there's this mystery. I love that we have this young woman who wants to be an engineer. Love the STEM representation there. And I think that this could be just a really fun, good read. I like that there's some mystery elements to it. I could see this being a fun pick for Book of the Month. And finally, we have our nonfiction category. I have 2 books this month. My first selection for this genre is I Shouldn't Be Telling You This, But I'm Going to Anyways by Chelsea Devantez. This currently has a 4.46 and 78 ratings on Goodreads so far. This is a memoir of Chelsea's life, from the low points, like when her mom and her only had $100 left to their names, to the highs of becoming an Emmy-nominated writer on the show The Problem with Jon Stewart, and sensational podcaster deemed the celebrity memoir whisperer by her fans. I picked this book for Book of the Month because I think that occasionally they like to feature like celebrity memoirs, and while I don't think Devantez is like a super big celebrity, she's a really well-known political comedy writer and podcaster, really got her thumb on the pulse of America. I think that this could be a really interesting and unique type of memoir, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it as a feature. My second selection is called Shadow Men by James Polkin. This currently has a 5-star rating with only 2 reviews on Goodreads so far. May 16th, 1922. A young man's body was found on a desolate road in Westchester County. The victim was penniless ex-sailor Clarence Peters. Walter Ward, the handsome scion of the family, who owned the largest chain of bread factories in the entire country, confesses to the crime as an act of self-defense. For 16 months, the media fueled a firestorm about what could make Walter commit murder as the case took wild twists and turns. I've picked this book for Book of the Month as kind of a long shot. I don't know that this is the most realistic pick, but I think that this is a fantastic topic. I think when they have done true crime books in the past, they've done really well. And this one sounds like a really interesting case. This is set in the jazz era. We have this young, penniless person who has been murdered. We have this elite socialite who has confessed to murdering him. And then the story just kind of continues to grow and twist and turn as different people are brought in and different information is found out. This sounds like this could be a really interesting read, and I think it would do well with the Book of the Month demographic. So that is the end of my June 2024 Book of the Month predictions. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the thumbs up, comment down below, and let me know which of these books do you think will actually end up in your Book of the Month box. Any of them that you're excited to read, any of them that you're like, please don't select that one Book of the Month. And again, you know, I know it was a lot of repeat authors, but that is the majority of what is being published this month is repeat authors. I tried to select a few books that were definitely not on that repeat list, but let me know if there's any books that I missed. You know, Lucy Foley and Ali Hazelwood are both dropping books this month. You didn't see them on my list, but you know, do you think Book of the Month might feature their books? Tell me all the things. And if you're not already subscribed to this channel, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button down below, as well as the notification bell, so that you never miss a video, and that way we can see each other again soon. Thanks so much for joining. Bye.